Good day, everyone. My name is Joanne Malikishar.
I am Lindsay Amerisi Barrion.
I am Christian Hernandez.
I am Adrian Ilagan.
And I am Maril Hernandez.
And for today, we're going to discuss to you our lab report for laboratory number 3, operational amplifiers. Let's begin with Mariel Hernandez for its introduction.
To start our presentation, let me first discuss the introduction of our experiment. Operational amplifiers, or op-amps, are widely used in analog circuits for signal amplification. In practical applications, we use negative feedback to control their gain and ensure stable operation. There are three common configurations: the non-inverting, inverting, and voltage follower, each with different characteristics. However, real op-amps are not ideal. Their gain decreases at higher frequencies due to bandwidth limitations. In this experiment, we analyze these configurations and compare theoretical results with actual measurements to better understand real op-amp behavior. Next slide po. So for the objectives of this experiment is to analyze the performance of operational amplifiers under different conditions. Specifically, we aim to calculate the gain of various op-amp configurations and to understand their operations more clearly. Next slide po. Moving on with the materials, we use the following, such as the adjustable DC power supply, which provides the required voltage for the circuit operation. A function generator was also used to supply input signals, such as sine waves, for testing the response of the op-amp configurations. Resistors were included to control current flow and set the gain of the amplifier circuits. The op-amp component serve as the main active device used in the inverting, non-inverting, and voltage follower configurations. A breadboard and connecting wires were used to assemble and connect circuit components properly. And the multimeter was utilized to measure electrical quantities such as voltage, current, and resistance during the experiment. And lastly, multisim or online simulation software was used to simulate the circuits and compare theoretical and actual circuit behavior. Next slide po.
So for the non-inverting amplifiers, this is all of our figures. So for the table 1 to to point 1, it shows that the result of the non-inverting amplifier demonstrates that the circuit operates with high precision at low frequency, where measured gain value is aligned closely with theoretical expectation. A key advantage of this configuration is its ability to maintain a consistent in-phase relationship with the between the input and the output signals, avoiding the polarity reversal that is sometimes seen in others. However, the operating frequency approaches 1 megahertz. Minor performance deviation occurs as the operational amplifier reaches its physical limitations. Additionally, external factors like stray capacitance from the wiring and the internal component constraints begin to influence the signal. So ultimately, these findings confirm that while the non-inverting amplifier is exceptionally reliable for preserving signal integrity, practical hardware limitations must be considered when operating at high speed. So for 1.3 to 1.4, across all test configurations and frequency, the output voltage remain fixed between 28 voltage to 30 voltage peak to peak, indicating that the operational amplifier was operating in the saturation region rather than its linear range. This occurs because of a generic op amp that cannot produce an output voltage beyond its power supply rails, causing the signal to flip or to clip and flatten at its maximum physical limit. This saturation effect masks the typical relationship between the gain and the frequency, as the output remains pinned at its peak regardless of the changes of the resistor or the input voltage. So conclusively, this result emphasized that for an amplifier to function predictably and to avoid signal distortion, it must operate within its linear boundaries or uh, below the limit of its power supply. So next slide po.
So part B is all about non-inverting voltage follower. So the following slide show all figures containing simulations of non-inverting voltage follower at various input voltage and frequencies. So as shown in the data in table 2.1, the theoretical gain remains at constant 1. A benchmark the circuit achieves with remarkable accuracy across various frequencies and voltage levels. So as we notice in the low frequency range of 10 Hz to 100 Hz, the circuit displays near perfect operation. For every tested input from zero point 0.1 volts to 10 volts, the output matches the input with extreme precision, maintaining a gain of approximately 1. This occurs because the operational amplifier's open loop gain is at its maximum at low frequencies, allowing the negative feedback loop to function with peak efficiency. So this ensures that the feedback mechanism has ample bandwidth to correct any potential errors, resulting in virtually no signal loss. Next slide, please. So moving to the table 2.2, which has a higher frequency, ranges of 10 kilohertz to 1 megahertz. The circuit remains highly stable despite the increased operational speed. While the amplifier successfully tracks the input signal, small deviations in gain such as 0.992 appear in the results. This minor shift is caused by the gain bandwidth product, where the internal gain naturally rolls up as frequency increases. Although the amplifier has slightly less capacity to correct errors, at these speeds, the data confirms that the voltage follower is a robust design that prevents loading effects and faithfully reproduces signals even at high frequency. Next slide, please. So the data in table 2.3 confirms that the voltage follower maintains a stable unity gain across all tested frequencies, with output peak-to-peak voltage consistently tracking the input. Measured values cluster between 23.6 volts and 23.8 peak-to-peak voltage, which shows the circuit is operating at the edge of its 24 peak-to-peak voltage maximum limit. While the output remains clean due to the lack of amplification, this proximity to the boundary means the circuit has very little headroom, leaving it vulnerable to clipping if the input amplitude increases. Next slide. So table 3 provides a quantitative look at the circuit's precision by measuring the percentage error across different frequencies. At low frequencies, 10 Hz to 100 Hz, The error is exceptionally small, ranging from 0.0005 to 0.009, confirming near ideal operation where the feedback loop easily maintains unity gain. However, as the frequency climbs toward 1 megahertz, the error increases to peak of 0.077%. This shift is driven by the gain bandwidth product limitation and the effects of stray capacitance, which makes it harder for the op-amp to track the signal perfectly at high speeds.
So now we will proceed on discussing the inverting amplifier. Here are our simulations for this part. So, okay, now let's proceed on discussing this part. So from the table 4, theoretical value and the experimental values in turn hertz and 110K and 100, and also for the table 4.2, the other one on the next page. Okay, see. This result shows that the inverting amplifier closely matches the theoretical gain values at low frequencies, proving that the circuit behaves almost ideally with this range. As the frequencies increase to 100K Hz and 1 million Hz, as we can see here, noticeable phase shift occurs, causing the output voltage to appear positive even though the amplifier is still fundamentally operates as an inverting amplifier. This apparent sign change is caused by additional phase lag from the op-amp's internal capacitance and gain stages, which can make the total phase shift approach approximately 360 degrees, making the output appear in phase with with the input. The experiment also demonstrates the inverse relationship between the gain and the bandwidth, where higher frequencies gradually reduce the amplifier's ability to maintain stable gain due to real-world limitations such as parasitic capacitances, finite slew rate, and internal transistor response time. Overall, the data highlights that while theoretical models accurately describes low frequency behavior, high frequency performance requires consideration of phase shift, bandwidth limitations, and other non ideal characteristics of a practical operational amplifiers. And now let's proceed to the next table. So, next page. So, for table 4.3 and 4.4, next page. Oh, like that. Okay, here 4.3. So we can see that the inverting amplifier maintained a stable voltage gain and a consistent output voltage across a wide range of frequencies, which demonstrates a reliable circuit performance under controlled conditions. The experiments also highlights that the effects of resistor selection, where changing the ratio of feedback and input resistors also adjusts the gain while keeping the output within measurable limits. Although the amplifier generally followed the expected theoretical behavior, the use of a generic operational amplifier introduced practical limitations such as finite bandwidth, gain bandwidth product constraints, and phase shifts at higher frequencies. The data further shows that when the output voltage exceeds the op-amp supply limits, clipping occurs, causing the waveform distortion and flattened signal peaks due to amplifier saturation. Overall, the experiment emphasizes that while theoretical equations accurately predict amplifier behavior, real-world factors such as bandwidth limitations, clipping, and non-ideal op-amp characteristics significantly affects the performance at high frequencies and large signal amplitudes. Okay, now let's proceed to the next part.
To conclude everything, during our experiment, we utilized an I multisync to bridge the gap between theoretical op-amp equations and practical circuit behavior, specifically focusing on a non-inverting configuration. Right away, our initial oscilloscope readings confirmed that the amplified output was perfectly in phase with the input signal, establishing a solid baseline. More importantly, we validated our principle of amplifier design. The closed loop gain is not dictated by the op-amp's internal open loop gain, but is entirely controlled by our external feedback network, specifically the ratio of our RF and RI resistors. However, a major takeaway from our testing is that practical components that have strict physical limits. We observed this first with the voltage saturation. The op-amp amplified the signal cleanly until it hit a hard ceiling, uniformly clipping the wave just below our 30-volt DC power supply. We saw a similar boundary when testing bandwidth. While the circuit performed predictably and maintained signal integrity up to 100 kHz, pushing the input frequency beyond 1 MHz resulted in significant performance loss. Ultimately, this experiment highlighted that while theoretical formulas are reliable for designing a circuit's baseline, a real-world system must always account for practical constraints like power supply limits and high-frequency degradation. That's all.
Thank you po. That's all for our presentation.